Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the latest edition of the BG Insights videocast. Really excited today for this one. We're talking about a particular area of our business that has been a staple for our firm for a couple decades now. I'm here to talk about our public affairs work is the one and only Mr. Mike Sherry. How are you, Mike?
Hey, Don. Thanks for talking to me today.
No problem, sir. Well, we're here to talk about a public affairs practice, but we've done a bit of a thing here. Talk to me about the practice and what we're doing here and what we're talking about here today.
So this is really all about unrolling what we're calling BG strategies, which is kind of an evolution of the public affairs work that we've been doing for well over 20 years at this point. I can't say I've been here for all 20 of those years, but collectively the firm's experience on these types of projects is really long. Both whether it's for me, whether it's before coming to Belfort Group, and certainly for you and Phil and others in the firm, it's been a long history before and at Belfort Group, where we've really just been taking on these kind of hard to win projects, figuring out how to position them in the communities that they're trying to locate in, and then figuring out the keys to getting them through the process and making them a reality. So BG strategies is really just kind of a formalization, you could say, maybe, of techniques and practices that we've developed over time, both within the firm and without, that have really shown to be effective in getting these projects done.
Who do we work with? I mean, I know that in our other areas of our business, we have a big broad range of clients, education, nonprofits, but these groups of clients are pretty particular. Describe the types of clients we work with in this area.
Yeah, I would say more often than not, we're dealing with a developer. It's not always the case, but developers, are certainly the folks most in need of assistance in getting their projects from concept to reality, whether that's winning over support from the community or getting through the political and the permitting process, or securing kind of positive feelings or reputation about the project. Oftentimes it's kind of a hybrid of all those things. Getting projects approved is first and foremost, I think, the bread and butter of BG strategies and what we do. But the nice thing about it is that's not all we do. And I appreciate the variety personally. We help municipalities market themselves to tourists or to other businesses, and getting companies to locate within their borders. We help, civic groups and third-party organizations, advocate for policy changes, whether on the local or the statewide level. Business coalitions sometimes ask us to help them, win over a change in in economic regulation or some kind of state or local policy that could be beneficial to economic growth. All these things come into play. Sometimes, some more often than not, but they all kind of, if anyone has a stake in influencing public policy or public opinion in some way, chances are there's an intersection with the work we do at BG Strategies. So it makes it very interesting.
Well, it's a good segue to my next question, which is, what is the work? I mean, it sounds like, and I know the answer to this, but I'm asking you. The work seems to be on a surface level pretty simple, but I know for a fact that it can be pretty complicated. Just walk us through what a project, some of the tactics look like. What does the work entail?
So at a very basic level, the work can kind of be boiled down to community engagement, media relations, and really political influence, right? Talking to influencers and stakeholders in the community, whether that's abutters, neighbors, civic organizations, community organizations, getting them introduced to the project and supportive of it, or for folks who are already opposed, trying to get them, into the neutral camp. Winning media support for a particular project, or generating media publicity for a project is always a key part of this. And then, how those things apply to the political decision makers who actually make the final vote on the project itself is always part of it as well. So at a basic level, those are the steps involved. But like I said, just like how we work with a variety of clients, every project, even from the same type of client, is always different, right? There's unique contours to everyone. And so part of our job is how to take that set of best practices, or that kind of standard toolkit, and figure out, all right, what does this project have that makes it unique, that makes us have to adapt our toolkit somewhat, and find a new approach or a new angle or a way to tailor our approach to that particular project.
No, that's good insight. I mean, I know that with local town government here in Massachusetts being a strange thing for those that are out of town. So if you're watching this and not from New England or Massachusetts,
Yeah.
Three forms of government we typically have to deal with, and every town has their own little quirks. And I know that generally we run these campaigns the same, but talk to us talk to me about the techniques we use in these campaigns, and globally, and then maybe speak to the differences between a major city developer project versus something that's more of a town base. So talk about techniques, and then talk about the difference in terms of local government.
Sure. So I think one thing that we do really well is we integrate technology into the tools that I outlined previously, that community engagement, the media relations, and the political influence. I feel like integration of technology, whether that's smart, geo-targeted, demographically targeted social media, is a part of this. Tapping into voter databases and consumer information databases to really get a full picture of the community that we're working in, and finding who the likely supporters are, who the likely opponents are, and tailoring our messages to meet that based on the information that technology provides us is a real part of this. And then also just making full use of the incredible talent we have here at the firm. Obviously, I lead the practice, and there's some folks at the firm who are veterans of this stuff, and we obviously do the bulk of the work. But the great thing about having access to the full team at the Belfort Group, as opposed to a smaller shop, is we can pull in folks from the creative team when we need a really killer design done. We can pull in folks who really specialize in digital marketing when we need, the perfect placement. We have a limited ad budget for Facebook ads, and we need, to make every dollar count. We really have experts who can kind of take on every part of this, every part of the work, make it perfect, and supplement the work that kind of the baseline public affairs team is knowledgeable about.
No, that's a good point, because I think that the firm started as a traditional PR firm years ago, and I think when this practice started, a lot of the work was very grassroots PR oriented. But today, that we're all home and you're using digital technology to communicate, I think the old school stuff still applies, but some of these new techniques apply, which is why we as a firm have decided to hire people that come from different backgrounds, have different techniques and skill sets, like creative design, web design, because you never know what's going to get a city council or a town meeting member to approve our project. So I think it's multi-channel.
Yeah, and one thing I'll also say is, I know folks may be watching this at some point in the future when the COVID-19 crisis is a distant memory, and I hope to be that day sooner rather than later. But I feel as though it did force some folks to rethink how they do this type of work. And while I think we did innovate as well, one thing I was kind of not pleasantly surprised, because I wasn't surprised, but kind of gratified, you could say, to see, was that it didn't force us to redo everything from the ground up, because we were already, I think, beyond the level of just simple door knocking and dependent on showing up to a cafeteria or a high school gymnasium for a community meeting. It's not to say we don't incorporate that into the work, and we've had to figure out ways around it, but our work has been so, I think, creative and multifaceted and just varied in our approaches that the constraints on in-person communication that unfortunately the pandemic has necessitated hasn't really thrown our whole game plan off. We're still able to go forward and find solutions, because that's how we've been doing things already.
Sure. Any short case studies or examples of the work that kind of bring some of this thinking to life that you want to share?
Well, I feel as though our work, which is still underway in Cambridge, is a really great example of what we're doing. Biomed Realty, a great client, has been in the process with us for over a year now of paving the way for a laboratory and office tower in Kendall Square, where lab space is extremely valuable, with the first 3 floors completely given over to significant community benefits, including a theater and open space and a lot of really wonderful amenities. And working with the Cambridge community and the arts community, which goes even beyond Cambridge, to win support and incorporate feedback and communicate that feedback to stakeholders and elected officials and civic organizations, has been really gratifying and really fun, frankly, and really effective for Biomed, which it has no celebration until the final vote happens, but it seems to be doing really well, and the project seems to be widely liked so far. So I feel like our work in Cambridge is really emblematic of the type of work we try to do everywhere. Lots of groundwork, lots of involvement, lots of engagement, lots of communication, and just channeling the good vibes that we create into the proper vehicles to receive them, so that the project itself is received warmly. The other thing I'll say is that, for those who know, Cambridge is an extremely active, activist type city that kind of straddles both worlds. You asked about big cities and small towns. Sometimes when I'm doing work in Cambridge, it feels like I'm dealing with a teeny town, because the neighborhoods are all very, parochial, and people take things very personally when it comes to investment in their neighborhood, and it really can have a small town feel. But then sometimes, Cambridge is a city, and it's a really advanced city, and it's not Boston, obviously, by any means, but it's not the middle of nowhere. And so you sometimes switch back and forth between highly processed, routinized planning and permitting that goes with a big city and all the political considerations that comes with that. And then you have this very small neighborhood type work as well. And so it really does flip between the two, which I like.
Great. Well, you heard it here first. BG Strategies is on the scene, doing some great work. I love the potpourri of clients we work with, the different towns we're in. You never know where we are as a team going to be on any given day, on the road to Sterling, Massachusetts, or down the Cape, or further ports up north. But obviously, if there is a client out there that you are could use our services, feel free to reach us at the belfortgroup.com. Mike, if folks are looking to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Shoot me an email or give me a call, frankly. I'm happy. I always pick up the phone. My cell phone, and again, since we're in the age of COVID these days, is the best way to reach me, which is 201-615-2218. Give me a call. Happy to chat. Or just shoot me an email, mike@thebelfortgroup.com. Couldn't be easier. I'm always happy to hear you out, hear what you have going on. And, that's the sort of it's not a big formal thing. It's not an obligation. It's just an informal chat, and we go from there. So
Yeah.
I love hearing from folks, and even if it doesn't work out where their needs match up to what we provide at that moment, sometimes folks that we talk to come back to us in 6 months and say, hey, we didn't need you then, but we need you now. And those conversations play a role in that. So
No, that's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, I think every project we work on, there's something we learn that we pull to the next one, and we're more than willing to talk to anybody at any given time to share those insights. So Thank you for joining us, joining me on the BG Insights videocast, Mike. Excited for where BG Strategies goes under your leadership. And I'm sure there'll be more to be told and more stories to be told on these sort of videocasts about our projects down the line. But thank you for joining me today, and good luck in the future.
Always love talking about this stuff. So thank you, Don. Appreciate it.
Mike.